Hi, and welcome to this episode of John's Motorcycle Rescue and Review. Today, I am reviewing Kawasaki's 2008 Concours 1400. And at this point, the 2008 Concours is not the latest and greatest. There are newer generations of this bike, but really what I'm going to be doing, this is a used bike review. So I'm going to be, if you're in the market for a used bike, let's say you only have around $5,000 to spend on a bike. This bike is in the realm of possibility to own for that kind of money. What I'm going to do is just kind of go over what you get for your money on a 2008 Concours. First things first, everybody knows it's got the motor that's lifted out of the Ninja ZX14, and it's just a powerhouse motor. It's a very, very quick bike, but the nice thing is it's not dominating. It's not the kind of bike that's going to wheelie out from under you. However, it is certainly capable of doing power wheelies. It is a fast, fun machine, but for a large motorcycle, the Concours is very light on its feet. It also has excellent brakes. It has tremendous, very convenient luggage. These things come off with, you put the key in, turn the key, and lift these bags right off. And they're very large capacity, so you can fit a full face helmet in either of the saddlebags. With the ability to carry a top case here on the back rack, you can add additional storage and really outfit this bike to go cross country if that's what you want to do. On the used machines, you do want to watch out for the steering stem bearings. These things, because they're large, heavy bikes, and sometimes people wheelie them, they can be a little bit hard on the steering head bearings. The ones on this are fine. The handlebars should be easily able to be turned without any kind of catches in it. So let's go for a ride. I'll let you know what I think, and then we'll come back and wrap this up.
I'm currently riding Kawasaki's 2008 Concours 1400. And this bike is just, what a fabulous machine. If you would have told me a couple of years ago that touring bikes would be making this much power, I would have said you were crazy. I remember when the absolute fastest bikes in the world were only putting out about 140 horsepower, and so to have 160 horsepower sport tourer that is all day comfortable and shaft drive, it's just amazing, mind-blowing. But this bike, you'd almost call it a hyper tourer, and it has the monster motor out of the Kawasaki ZX14. It's a big inline 16 valve 4-cylinder. This bike is equipped with shaft drive and very smooth, very easy bike to drive. What it feels like is a comfortable Hayabusa. As a 2008 model, this is the non-ABS version, and it is very, I would call it tech light. There's just not a whole lot of tech on it. One of the things it does have is a tire pressure monitoring system, and unfortunately, the batteries for the sensors are in the tires, and when they get cold, they don't put out enough voltage, and so it's very common on a Concours on a cold day to get a low battery warning for your tire pressure sensor, and that's what this one is doing right now. I don't know if you can see it on the display currently, but I did check the tire pressure before I left. I know we're good. Now the back roads I'm on right now are really not what this bike was designed for. This bike was designed to just get out on the highway and cruise for many, many miles. And but it's such a comfortable machine. It's such a capable machine that really any kind of riding you want to do, it'll do it, and do it pretty well. thing has all sorts of hustle out of the corners as long as you're tacking above 3,000 RPM. Well, there was 2,000 RPM and it still has plenty of juice. This motor was tuned for torque, and at 100 foot-pounds of torque, that's just very impressive. But even if you keep the tack below 6,000 RPM, this bike is just wickedly fast. You just have to be careful because you hold that throttle pinned a little bit too long and you can overcook a corner before you even get to it. You have too much speed to scrub off. It has great brakes on this bike. They're big radial mounted brakes. It's got the upside down sport bike type cartridge forks on it. And so the handling and the braking are really up to the weight of the bike and the speed it generates. This bike also has the electric windshield. I'm going to dial it down now. And I actually like that feature quite a bit because with it up, it blocks a lot of wind, keeps the wind off of my lap. I can definitely feel more wind in my lap now, which would be nice on a warm day. Right now it's about 32 degrees, so that's a little bit cooler. This bike is just very, very smooth. Yeah, that's eager. If you're into a little bit lighter bike, Kawasaki does make the 1000 Ninja, and that's really a nice lightweight sport touring bike. This is definitely more long range capable, a little bit more under stressed, and it's definitely a heavier bike, but it's really meant, where this thing excels is highway use. And again, wind protection on this is just phenomenal. I don't even have my snowmobile pants on right now, and it's all day rideable even at right around 30 degrees. So a little bit of footage just to show you how Concours really does handle nicely, even in the twisties. Even though it's a bigger bike, it can really be hustled with not that much effort. There are times where you may have to lean it a little bit further over in the corners than a shorter wheelbase machine. So how does this bike compare to some of the competition from BMW, Honda, Yamaha? All of those manufacturers make bikes that are really in this category, the hyper tourer category. And I would say this bike really has, motor-wise, it would compete with any of them. Motor-wise, it just, even the K1600 from BMW really doesn't have much of an advantage, if any, over this bike. This bike actually may be quicker. So you've got the straight line performance, braking performance is very good. The BMW is going to have some higher tech features like the traction control, anti-lock brakes, heated grips, electronic cruise control. So there's some definite tech features that this does not have. Really, for a touring bike, the only features that I would really like to see this particular bike have, since I'm the one that owns it currently, I would like the electronic cruise control on a touring bike, and I also really appreciate heated grips. And the main reason there is when I'm riding the sport touring or touring machines, it's oftentimes in the colder weather where the engine heat and the wind protection allows me to ride these bikes really for hours on end, even in this colder weather, and be comfortable. Transmission wise, if you compare this to any of the BMWs that I've ridden, I haven't ridden the K1600, but I've ridden the 1300, the K1200, and the R1200. Transmission wise, this bike just shifts so much nicer than any of those bikes. Beautiful shifting transmission. It has tall gearing for the highway, which I really appreciate, and so overdrive really isn't necessary until you hit about 60 miles an hour or above, and it really just, it's a true overdrive, but very much appreciated on the highway. It just gives this bike such a relaxed feel. Yamaha in this time frame had a 5-speed on their FJR 1300, and that bike is just, it's geared too low in my opinion for highway use with the 5-speed, and I like the models, the later models that have the 6-speed, so that's a plus there. Last winter I spent the winter with a ST 1300, and I really enjoyed that bike. I would say transmission wise, this has a better shifting transmission, although on any of those bikes, it's not that I was missing shifts, it's just the precision, the shortness of the throw, the way the clutch engages, everything I think is a step up on this bike. But I just love the feel pulling out of these corners. It just, you can just open it up, and what a rush. Comfort wise, I've already been on this bike for about an hour today and just find it very, very comfortable. It's got a big fuel tank, so got nice range. I think the ST 1300 gets a little bit better mileage and a little bit better range. Yeah, what amazes me is for the performance that is on tap with this motorcycle, for the capabilities that you get, and for the price that you can purchase these for. Used right now, this particular bike is in the $5,000 range, and if you get one that's a little bit rougher or with higher mileage than this one, you may pay a little bit less, or if you you know, if it's a super low mileage one or a little bit newer model year, you can certainly pay more. But again, you're just getting so much performance and capability for so little money. That just, to me, it's one of the best bargains out there in the motorcycling world. And really, you know, if your riding includes a fair amount of highway, this bike, it should really be on your list of bikes to consider, because it does that very well, but it does all of the other riding really well also. So even if you've got buddies who've got full-on super sports, this bike isn't going to be far off the pace. You know, they may, if you're a better rider than your friends, you'll definitely be able to keep up or set the pace. Because this bike is not super tech heavy, it's a very simple motorcycle to, even though it's got the fairings and stuff, it's a simple motorcycle to work on. And I really anticipate that cost of ownership over the long haul on this particular bike, on the Concours 1400, is really going to be significantly less, especially when you compare it to the European brand motorcycles. You know, you have the Japanese simplicity, it's got systems that have been in use for a long, long time, and you just don't have electronics to, I don't know, foul or, you know, get bugged up. The new bikes with all of their traction control and fly-by-wire throttle and all of the systems that they have, they are great when they work. But long-term ownership, really, we haven't had that stuff around long enough to see how it holds up over time. And they're just, the more complex a system is, the more maintenance that is typically required. So I do appreciate the simplicity of this Concours. Styling wise, the Concours is my favorite of the sport touring hyper tourers. I think it's just got the nicest lines. I like the angular look of the fairings and the headlights. I just think it's an aggressive looking but nice looking machine. I also actually really like, this one is, I think, neutron silver, and I do like the color. It's a little bit of like a blue silver. The shaft drive on this bike has a linkage system on it that prevents the bike from jacking when you get on the throttle, and it's really nice. It doesn't have, sometimes on high-powered bikes with shaft drive, the back of the bike will actually raise several inches as you get on the throttle, and that really changes your line in the corners. And this bike really doesn't do that. There's not a lot of shaft jacking, and Kawasaki did a nice job of kind of taming the shaft. Ride-wise, this thing rides great. To me, it's really a nice compromise of sport and comfort. Like I say, I've been on this bike for probably over an hour today, and I would love to hit the open road and keep riding. This bike does have a trip meter and you can look at your average fuel mileage, you can look at your range. There's some different settings that you can do on that. I have not messed with the average since I've gotten the bike. I haven't messed with that or reset it, but I've been in the throttle quite a bit, and it looks like I'm averaging about 35 miles to the gallon, a little bit over that. If I'm good, and I can easily get over 40 miles to the gallon on this bike. This particular bike also has bar risers. It's probably got another 2.5 to 3 inch rise on the handlebars, and that makes it really, it's very comfortable. I like the seating position. The mirrors I can see very, very well out of the mirrors. Get a nice big view. This is a stock seat, and honestly, it's very comfortable. Yeah, if you're looking for Hayabusa performance and all-day comfort and storage capacity, man, it's just hard to beat this bike. What a fun machine.
This bike it's a big heavy bike, but it's a nice comfortable bike and really handles light on its feet. Honestly, I can't recommend it strongly enough. My only criticism of the bike, really, and it's the same criticism I would have for any fully fared touring bike, is on a hot day they're hot. Goldwings, BMWs, any bike with a full fairing, including this one, anything above 80 degrees, and it's hard to gear up just because of the heat that the bike generates. And then they have such great wind protection that you kind of get trapped in a little bit of a bubble of heat on the hot days. The nice thing is, if you've got another bike, a naked bike that you can take out during the summer, that becomes a non-issue. These things, because in Pennsylvania a lot of the year is cooler weather and maybe what people don't consider optimal riding weather, bikes like this are just fantastic. I'm in mid-January right now, and it's in the 30s, and I can ride all day and be perfectly comfortable. All right, so there you have it. In my eyes, this bike is a beautifully styled bike. It's a fast, fun bike. It's easy to ride. It's got great wind protection and all-weather protection. And really, Kawasaki hit it out of the ballpark with the design of this bike. Really an overall fantastic machine. And just the capability that you get in the used bike market with these for the money, just an outstanding value. And I'm just looking forward to putting more miles on this bike and enjoying it while I have it. So just stay tuned for more videos. If you've got any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below. But until next time, ride safe.